Her Highness Princess Naoud Dindar Al Saud.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to this wonderful occasion, especially our host, Nana Pusu-Randall, who kindly nominated me for this honor. Thank you, Nana. Well, as you may know, I'm a scientist. I'm a gallerist, an entrepreneur, I'm a woman, and I'm Saudi. Not exactly a cliche. It is said that women are particularly good at doing several things at once, at multitasking, while some men can only focus at one thing at a time. I'm just one of billions of women from all over the world who led remarkable lives and achieved remarkable things. My story is unique only in the sense that every other woman's story is unique. But I hope by telling it tonight, I can inspire others to fulfill all of their potential. I certainly feel that life is too short to do just one thing. So last year, I started a blog for exploring my many interests. And I called it One Woman, Many Hats. Not only because I love hats, but because the many hats I wear symbolize the many roles I play throughout my day. I recently was awarded a PhD in clinical medicine specialized in ectopic fat. So obviously, my studies, research, and clinical trials have taken a great deal of my time. But I also run an art gallery, and I'm an amateur artist myself. I also love learning new languages. Like you said, speaking 5 at the moment, I'm aiming to speak 7 by the time I turn 40, while still looking 29. This evening, though, I'll share with you my experience in the art world, one of my most acknowledged hats. In October this year, La Haute Gallery will celebrate its 10-year anniversary in London. But the story of my gallery began in my home country, Saudi Arabia. 10 years ago, I was working as a genetic researcher in the King Faisal Hospital in Riyadh. And as someone who loved culture, loved visiting museums and exhibitions, and loved art, I often met others that shared that same interest. Many of them were keen amateur artists in their own right. Some of them were good enough to be more than amateurs. But there was no outlet for them at the time in Saudi Arabia. And for women in particular, art was not seen as a viable career. Of course, things are very different now. Middle Eastern artists are even quite fashionable. And events like the Dubai Art Fair have put the region in the contemporary art map. But 10 years ago, there was not much of a contemporary art scene to speak of. Except perhaps a male-dominated clique dating from the 1960s and not getting any younger. So I wanted to change that. Now, I really didn't have a well-thought-out business strategy. Nothing like a 5 or 10-year plan. But I believe, like you do, that if you're passionate about something and you put your heart into it, things have a pretty incredible way of falling into place. In the words of Al-Ghazali, what is destined will reach you, even if it be between two mountains. What is not destined will not reach you, even if it be between your two lips. So I put my saving in a gallery and named it Lahad, which in Arabic means a blink of an eye. And what seems like a blink, the gallery just took off. We started by focusing on women artists from Saudi Arabia and the neighboring Gulf countries. But there was not much of an infrastructure for art at the time, so we had to make use of makeshift spaces like open arenas and theaters. But the contemporary art world now is a big business, and I'm a bit nervous.
Don't be. You got this. You totally got this. Totally got this.
Yes. It's my first speech, ladies and gentlemen. So we were soon firmly established and expanded to cover the Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia. We also began to represent not only women artists, but men as well. At the same time, I was still working in science, and in 2010, I was offered a doctorate in Imperial College London. But rather than give up the gallery, I took it with me. Adding a space in London to the one we had in Riyadh. Since then, though, the art world has changed. And technology means that you really don't need a physical space to exhibit art. So we went online, with pop-up exhibitions and pop-up venues that can be held all over the world. In the last 2 years, we've exhibited in London, Singapore, and Japan, and I would love to do the same here in New York.
Yes.
In fact, we have a team that are from all over the world. Some of them haven't even met one another, but we all have the same goals, the same vision, and we achieve a lot together. Lahad Gallery for our artists is often a first step, their first exposure to a wider art world. You know the value of giving people that first platform, for reinforcing what they do and want to achieve is pretty powerful. So our artists often resulted in being picked up by other auction houses, institutions, and even galleries. I'm very proud and happy when that happens because I don't see other galleries as competition, but rather as potential collaborators. Because what really matters at the end is the art and the artists. Of course, contemporary art is a big business nowadays. There's lots of money involved, lots of hype, lots of marketing, and even the occasional scandal. Most of the artists, gallerists, and directors I know are motivated by a love of art. And that's what makes the field so special. What drives my passion for art is what drives my passion for science. A lot of people think that the arts and scientists are poles apart and appeal to fundamentally different personality types. But I don't think that's true at all. Medical science is often portrayed as cold, analytical, and abstract. But really, it is about people and their lives. the same things that make art meaningful. I know lots of scientists who play musical instruments, who write poetries and plays, who even paint in their free time. Actually, there's a long tradition of Renaissance men and women who excelled both in the arts and the sciences. For example, the 11th century polymath, poet, and pioneer of medical science, Ibn Sina, known in the world as Avicenna. He famously said, "I'd prefer a short life with width to a narrow one with length." You can say he's a rare man with many hats. Art and medicine are both vocations people go into out of love, rarely for financial gains. And they also both require a lot of studying and training before someone can truly master them. In many parts of the world, young people don't have the opportunities to explore their passion in these or other areas. And that's why the Millennium Development Goals are so important, because they mean equal opportunities for men and women. I was very lucky to pursue both of my passions in my life, even throughout struggles and cultural challenges. And I hope that my work will inspire others to fulfill their potential. Our journey has just begun. The Iraqi-born architect, Zaha Hadid, a woman in the pinnacle of her profession, has said, "I will never give myself the luxury of thinking I've made it." That's a pretty good rule to keep to. The Millennium Development Goals are only first steps towards a fairer world. I know from experience that the right idea at the right time can take a life of its own. And I hope it will inspire others to fulfill their dreams and not to be afraid to wear more than one hat. Thank you.
Faisal Randall is going to present an award to Her Highness Naouf Bindar Al Suad for her work that she does in the arts and in the world. Thank you.
We have talked for a long time. I'm not going to take too much of anybody's time. I just want to make sure that I was so honored when you accepted our invitation to come and join us. I know what you are doing, and you know what I'm doing. Now we join hands together, and we will make a difference. We want to thank you very much for being here. And we have so many gifts for you. And on behalf of VAM, may I present this to you for your work.
Thank you so much. Can we move it? Okay, everybody look.
Okay, right here, please.
Okay, got it.
This is a certificate of special congressional recognition presented to Her Highness Princess Naouf Bindar Al Saud in recognition of her outstanding and invaluable service to the community, presented this day in June 2017. By Elliot Engel, Congressman. Additionally, we have a presentation from the Senate of the State of New York, a proclamation in recognition of Her Highness Princess Naouf Bindar Al Saud.